that it's the only fruit that, in addition to its existence as a fruit, it also holds in it a hidden potential. Thus, after it's beaten and pressed, as the Midrash has just, so precisely laid out for us, there's a new potential, a new power is revealed in it.
אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי, טהורה.
So we'll talk about the olive. It's a powerful metaphor of the olive being pressed.
Pressed?
Olives get pressed,
pressed.
Right? They get pressed, cracked, and processed. An olive is I don't know if you've ever seen an olive on a tree or like right off the tree. It's a hard little stone.
Oh, yeah.
Olives don't lend themselves to being food just off the tree. Right? I don't know if you knew that, but now you do. So it's a beautiful metaphor, and the metaphor is that the olive needs to be cracked and pressed in order to bring out the value in it. And the value in the olive is apparently, as we're going to see, is very high value beyond actually what meets the naked eye. So I want to start by saying that so the metaphor. What's the metaphor for for cracking and pressing, and so it lends itself to life itself. That is metaphor for hardship.
Well, I was going to say living.
Life has a way of cracking and pressing us, right? So that's a metaphor for hardship. It's a metaphor for when we come into situations in life where, a circumstance or maybe a person or maybe a situation puts some pressure on us, presses us, right? And so I want to start by saying we're a little bit in that as a human species. We're a little bit in that right now with coronavirus, right? So we have a situation that's really challenging us. I want to acknowledge that at the outset of today's discussion, and say that anything is a teaching opportunity, and one of the things that are recommended for us, and I just want to pass on the recommendation from this pulpit, is to wash hands. We've got to wash hands and a lot, right? And apropos, washing hands is an old Jewish tradition. So we, as part, not only Jewish traditions, other traditions that wash, Muslims wash, hands and feet. It's from the Torah that when we enter a sacred space, we wash our hands first. And we know from history that because Jewish communities in Europe in the Middle Ages had the practice of washing hands a lot, more than the general population, they were spared the Black Plague in the Middle Ages. And actually nobody knew why. Now looking back, we know that the hand washing had a lot to do with it. They didn't do it for hygiene purposes, they do it for ritual purposes, but it served them. And more than one way. And in fact, that created some tension, some anti-Semitic tension. I want to say that it's funny how sometimes we discover that things that are written in Torah come back to become relevant in strange ways in the course of history. So I just want to say, wash your hands a lot, and whether religiously or not, right now it's really an imperative to do that. Here's one of the ways that life is offering us a pressing and a cracking, and and we will extract the value from this as well. It's my belief. ואתה תצווה את בני ישראל ויקחו אליך שמן זית זך כתית למאור להעלות נר תמיד. So this is the verse in Parshat Tetzave, Parsha we're in. Remember, we're in the midst of the minute details of building the tabernacle in the desert. This goes over several Parsha, several weeks. And Moses is being instructed on how to construct the menorah, the candelabra in the temple, and how to create the oil for that candelabra. So the way the light was lit is that they used olive oil in cups. There were 7 cups on 7 branches, a central branch, and then 3, like that. So you get the menorah. And there would be olive oil in a wick, and they would light, and the light was eternal light, so they kept it going all the time. And there's a particular oil, a particular way to create the oil, and here it's described. And you will instruct the people of Israel, and they should take pure olive oil, katit, pressed, right? The word katit is an interesting word. It means pressed, beaten, not pressed like ironing. Pressed, because you don't just press an olive gently. So nothing happens. You have to press it you have to beat it. So katit means to beat. It's also a word that's used in the context of metal work, metal smithing. So you got to bang the metal to shape it into, to force it into shape. And apparently it's also used in the context of walking. I think it's in modern Hebrew, when you do a hardcore walk, you're beating the pavement. So there's something violent, something strong, something really intense about that kind of beating. So it's important to get this, to really appreciate the metaphor. Why do you need that? Lema'or, for the light, lehalot ner tamid, to raise an eternal candle or eternal light, right? So you really have something very particular and very specific. In this one sentence, the Torah is telling us, God is telling Moses to tell us both what to use, how to use, and for what purpose to use. All in one little sentence. Packed. Again, for those of us who are with us in cyberspace, we are studying from Netivot Shalom, the famous book of the Slonimer Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Noach Berzhovsky of Jerusalem, the late. And we're on page Reish Chaf Aleph, reading the section that starts with Shemen Zait Zach Katit Lema'or. במדרש רבה ואתה תצווה, הדהו דכתיב, in the Midrash on the Parsha, on this Parsha, it's written Zait. So the Midrash brings a verse from Jeremiah. Zait ra'anan yafeh pri to'ar kara Adonai shmecha. So Jeremiah said, an olive or an olive tree is fresh and beautiful and a handsome fruit. וכי נקראו ישראל אלא בזית הזה בלבד. והלא בכל מיני אילנות נעים ומשובחים נקראו ישראל. So they ask, how come we're referring to, and the zait here is, the olive is a metaphor for the people of Israel. How beautiful, how fresh they are, how handsome they are, how special to God they are. And the Midrash says, why only the olive tree? We know that the people of Israel were also known as other trees, all kinds of all the different trees in the land of Israel, especially the sacred trees of the land of Israel, were metaphors for Israel. The geffen, the te'ena, the chule, the fruit, the vine, the grapes, right, the figs, the date, the palm, etc. So there's the fruits of the land of Israel that are all metaphors for the people of Israel. This olive, in comparison to the other trees, עד שהוא בגללו מגלגלין אותו, ואחר כך מורידין אותו מן הזית ונחפת, ומי שחופטים אותו מעלין אותו לגת, ונותנים אותן בחבלים ומביאים אבנים, ואחר כך נותנים את שינן. He says, rather, compared to the other fruit trees, in order to pick the olive and to process it, first you have to shake the tree to get it off the tree. Then you have to collect the olives from the ground. And then you have to beat them, to crack them. And then when you beat them, you take them to the press for the olives. And then you put it underneath the grind. They had, in ancient days, they had these stones that they would grind it and press it. And only then you get after all this hard work, then you get oil. Kach Yisrael. So why the olive is the proper metaphor for Israel? Those people of Israel are the same. Ba'inu mota olam, come the other people of the world, and they beat them, and they shuffle them from place to place, and they pack them up, and they tie them up, and they press them. ואחר כך עושים תשובה והקדוש ברוך הוא עונה להם. And only after all this, then the people of Israel repent, and the Holy One responds to them. Oy. It's not easy for the people of Israel, in other words, says the Midrash. It's not the fig tree, you just pick it and eat it, right?
Yeah.
Or the grapes, you just go and, eat the grapes. No. It's like we got pressed, We got pressed. Then we go, oh, maybe something is wrong here. We assess what's going on. And then then the conversation with the Holy One, right, with the spiritual realm begins. Anyway, spirituality is not a walk in the park, according to this midrash. So the explanation of the special trait of the olive oil, that is a metaphor for the people of Israel. That it's the only fruit that, in addition to its existence as a fruit, it also holds in it a hidden potential. Thus, after it's beaten and pressed, as the Midrash has just, so precisely laid out for us, there's a new potential, a new power is revealed in it. The power of the illuminating light that is stored within it. That it has the power to light a candle or a candelabra so efficiently that a great light continues on its own. Remember, we talked about the ingredient, the method, and the purpose. So the verse is particular about we're not making olive oil for dressing our salad. The Torah didn't say, take olive, beat it, dress your salad. It said use it for light. This process and this potential is not there in any of the other fruit of the land of Israel. Even if you take the other fruit and you beat it and press it, which you do, which other fruit do you beat and press?
I don't know.
You do, grapes.
Oh, that's right, for wine.
Yeah.
Wine, yeah.
You do.
But they're softer to beat.
Yeah, you beat it and press it for wine, right?
For wine, not for light.
That's right. But even if you beat and press it, what you get is food. Which is not the case for olive, because what you get is a different, he says, a different existence. So what happens to the olive is once you beat it and press it, what comes out is completely transformed into a new potential. If the grape was a fruit before you beat it, and it's still in the category of a food after you beat it, nothing has transformed. It was changed. The form has changed, right? From a solid grape, you can say, to a liquid grape. But when you beat and press the olive, it's transformed from a food to a source of light. It's elevated. Its potential, its use is elevated from the process of eating, of nourishing one's body, to a whole new purpose. It's kind of like the caterpillar and the butterfly, you could say, right? You see, that's a paradigm shift. That makes sense. That's how the olive is different. And this is why Israel were considered as if an olive. Because in a Jew, there's also great light. It's the piece of the divine that is hidden, is latent within him or her. But this is a hidden potential. How is it hidden? Through the material existence that obscures the sight from seeing that divine light. Divine light is in me, but when I'm identified with my physical existence, I don't see it. I can consider it intellectually, but how am I going to see the divine potential that's in me? But when a person breaks and presses one's material existence, then the hidden light is revealed, and that is the divine light within a person. Life is suffering. The Buddhists say that too. Life is suffering. But there's suffering that just happens. We kind of like roll into and through suffering. It's kind of like the weather. I'm walking through life, and these storms come, and boy, do I suffer. But he said the trick is to do conscious suffering, to choose to suffer, so you walk much faster through the storm. When you choose it, when you take it unconsciously, when you put yourself in the presser consciously, what comes out is not just this rolling through this, this happenstance suffering that you get just pressed by life. It's kind of like you get rolled over. It's a punch from here and a thing from there and a thing from here, and we actually could, there's, what do we say? Rolling with the punches, right? That's in the language. So the Slonimer teaches us, and obviously Gurdjieff also, is like, what if you put yourself in that consciousness you created for yourself, so you can get over with it and get the olive oil, get the value.
Somebody said, "What's bechira? What is free will?"
Mm-hmm.
So he said that free will is actually, we only have one ability, which corresponds to free will, and that is the ability to choose how we react.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we have, really, because
Mm-hmm.
stuff happens. Like suffering is just built into the system.
Right.
So how we choose to react to it. So what he's saying is the crushing, we're getting crushed, oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
Life is oppressing us in a certain way, whatever form it takes, materially, health, spiritually. So it's how we react to that is a question. Am I going to transform that into light? And it's interesting, we've been speaking about inner light, but the menorah, the candelabra in the sanctuary, so when they built the permanent sanctuary in Jerusalem, the temple, so when they built it, and they said to put this menorah in it, this candelabra, and the wall around it had windows. So there was no electricity. So normally in those times when you would build a home with windows, so you would want the windows to be wide on the inner part of the wall and narrow on the exterior of the wall. So it would act like a lens whereby the light would come through the skinny part and then it would
spread out.
It would spread,
Yeah.
so it would look like that. There's a name for that shape, which I forget. And
Like a funnel.
yeah, so the light should expand within the home.
Mm-hmm.
But the commandment to build this surrounding of the candelabra was opposite. It was made so that it was narrow on the inside and wide on the outside, which is to show that really God doesn't need light. He doesn't need us to light a light. So the message is that this transforming the suffering into light is not just an inner work. It's that we should bring the light of positive energy into the world. It's to affect the entire material world. That's why they say, there's a saying, the Jewish people are the light of the world. What in the world does that mean, the light of the world? It means to bring these messages of spiritual work to the world.
And I want to say, look, everybody else, you're not exempt. The fact that the Torah says that the Jews have to do this is, come on the bandwagon, we all have to do this, and we all do this. והנה כוח האור הנעלם הזה נמשך מהאור הגנוז ששימש בתחילת הבריאה. So he's adding here another piece. And he's saying, this hidden potential for light is drawn from the hidden light that was created at the very beginning of creation. The very first day of creation, it says in God said, let there be light. But on the fourth day of creation, God created the sun and the moon. So what was that light on the first day? Right? You see, it wasn't physical light. Right? It was this hidden potential of light. The first thing God did is started from the end. Right? Make the light that is the light of the deepest potential of our soul and the deepest potential of existence. By the way, the word enlightenment, where does that come from? Right? שבתחילת הבריאה, כמאמר הכתוב, ויאמר אלוהים יהי אור ויהי אור. וגנזו הקדוש ברוך הוא לעתיד לבוא. But then God hid that light for some time in the future. אור זה אינו אור גשמי. This light is not a physical light. אלא אור אלוקותו יתברך שהאיר את הבריאה. This is God's divine light that illuminates all of creation. And this is the light that will illuminate and be revealed when the final tikkun gamur is the final rectification, when the world comes to its full maturity, when if all this, we talked about suffering, if all this suffering is really a process which is a means to an end, there will be an end. Everybody has some vision, but there will be a time that this process, that we are experiencing bravely, I want to acknowledge all of us, that we're really bravely moving through life.
Really, the Messiah, Mashiach, it means to be anointed with oil. So
that's right.
That's what it really means, because they poured oil over the guy's head.
Right.
So the thing is that's anybody, it's all of us that seek to bring light, draw light down into this world.
Absolutely.
That's Mashiach.
Right. Mashiach means the oiled one.
Mm-hmm. Right? He's the guy that got this lesson.
When you get it,
You become a Mashiach.
and you embody it, you better take that olive oil and just pour it all over yourself. That's the end of days.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll all have the smooth skin, and So there will come a time, there will be a time when the awareness, the divine awareness, is going to be widespread, shared by Mal'ah Haaretz. The land is going to be filled with the awareness of the divine. So, you see, we won't have to effort to study to open our minds and our hearts anymore, because it's going to be that time when everybody are going to be bodhisattvas. Everybody are going to be tuned in, tuned in with the wavelength, with the ultimate wavelength. May we so be blessed to have little tastes of that potential in our lives, and it's available to us. We all know that. We've been there. There are those moments where eternity comes and punctures temporality, right? And in fact, that's what Shabbat is all about. It's like eternity comes and punctures our reality and goes like, boop, boop, there's something else.
And we're going to come to a day, says Sfas Emes, we're going to realize that the Torah, these things that we're learning, is actual light. This is what light is, not the physical brightness that we see as opposed to darkness. That's really light. And what is joy? A holiday is true joy. That is the actual definition of joy. But it's hidden now. And so I'm going to sing the song about, to the Jews there was light. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha Sasam B'Ikar. It's a beautiful song that we sing on Purim. Okay. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha V'Sasam B'Ikar. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha V'Sasam B'Ikar. La la la. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha V'Sasam B'Ikar. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha V'Sasam B'Ikar. One more time. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha V'Sasam B'Ikar. La la la. La Yehudim Haisa Oire V'Simcha V'Sasam B'Ikar.
See you again next Wednesday, 9 to 10 in the morning, every Wednesday here at the Shelley Luan Art Gallery. Folks, if you're in the neighborhood, come down and join us. This is open to anyone who wants to learn in physical space together with us, enjoy the beautiful art here. We look forward to learning with you again next week. Same place, same time. Shalom for now.